Hello, it's Hillary, and we are back for day 3 of our introductory week in the study of Psalms. And yesterday we talked about what it means to observe the Bible and how we can do that. Today, though, we're getting into the second step in this inductive Bible study process, and that is by not observation, that was yesterday, interpretation. Interpretation is what we will be doing. So, what does it mean to interpret the Bible? So, now that you have read the scripture, read the psalm, now that you've observed everything you can observe in it, now you're going to go back and interpret or try to connect the dots in what you have read and observed and all of your observations. So you will go back and think things through and try to figure out, first of all, in your interpretations, what you think it means. Ask God. Make sure to enter into the entire study with prayer, but also like every step that you do, ask God to show you things to observe. Ask God to help you with the interpretation of his truth. So once you go through and kind of figure things out, think through things on your own, then it is wise to go a step further. And you can do this by picking out key words in the passage. So in each psalm, there will be certain key words that stick out to you. Whatever catches your eye, whatever words seem to be very important, that they make a big difference in what the scripture is saying, or if they're repeated over and over, that's a clue that it would be a good key word. So you write down all the key words that you notice, and then you write the definitions. Now, you could use a regular dictionary, or you could go to the Greek and you can figure out what the writer of the scripture would have actually said, what those original words meant, and take those words in with their definitions and take it all into context. So, in case you're wondering, how in the world do you find the original meaning for these keywords? Well, if you have a Bible dictionary, that is one way, certainly, to do that. Another way that is kind of quick would be through an app, just an application on your smartphone or websites on the computer. So, one that I use is Blue Letter Bible. And it's a quick and easy app on my cell phone where you just search for the chapter of any scripture that you are looking for. So I would type in Psalm 1 for day 1, and you get the entire Psalm chapter 1. And then, let me see, just a second. Okay, I have my phone. I have my app up. And I want to walk you through step by step of exactly how to do this. Okay, so for example, on my phone, although that doesn't show anything on the video. Okay, so I'm looking at Psalm 120. If you go into the Blue Letter Bible, you can click on the verse number. So the verse numbers on my phone, at least, are in gray. You click on the verse number and it brings up Bible tools for each chapter, for each portion of scripture that you're looking up. There are options for interlinear, translation comparison, cross-references, text commentaries, audio, video, and dictionaries. Okay, so the super handy tool is to choose the first option, interlinear. When you choose interlinear, then it takes you to the Hebrew interlinear, and it brings up one verse. So this is Psalm 120, verse 1. They will go through, there are English words listed, and then there is a Strong's definition of what the word means. And so you click on the Strong's number. if you get in your app, this will all make sense, I promise. You click on your Strong's number. So, for example, they have a phrase. This is what the psalm says, okay? In my trouble, I cried to the Lord, and he answered me. If I click on I cried, it's the Strong's number is 7121, and it gives the transliteration, the pronunciation, the part of speech, the root word, but then it goes to the outline of biblical usage, and it gives a detailed definition. So that would mean to call out, call out, recite, read, cry out, proclaim. It's not like you have to do this on every single word of every single verse, but for those key words that you pick out, it's super handy. It's super helpful because it's right there. You can see what the words mean and different meanings and shades of meaning for these keywords. So once you have looked at your keywords and your definitions, if you're in this Blue Letter Bible and you go to you can do the translation comparison, which is very, very helpful and handy, especially if you don't completely understand what a certain verse means. So you go in and then you can find that one particular verse in every version of the Bible and see if that makes sense. That's a really, really good, solid way to study the Bible anyway, just to see different shades of the meaning. Then if you go to cross-references and click on that, then it will list all of the possible cross-references for each verse. It's very, very helpful. And then you don't have to write down all the cross-references. You can just jot down the ones that maybe stand out to you, mean the most to you, make sense, help you make sense of this portion of scripture that you're studying. So there's the interpretation. Again, just to summarize and go over it again, you go through your observations and you look and you try to interpret and figure out what things mean. Then you pick out keywords. If you have time, define them. And then if you have time, find cross-references. Cross-references are handy if you know the Bible really well. Certain things may come to mind, certain verses, and if you don't, use a help like Blue Letter Bible to do that. Bible Gateway is another good source definitely for different versions of the Bible. I have not tried the cross-reference section, anything like that. I stick with Blue Letter Bible because it's easy. It's what I'm used to. And I had tried this back with a Bible dictionary, just an actual book. And that took a lot of time because you have to look up numbers of what the words meant and what they were in the Greek. And so having something online is super convenient, super easy. Once you have done that interpretation, a good follow-up to all of that is to summarize what you have read, what you've learned with main points. So if you can just pick out one or two main points, what does this psalm say? What does it mean? Write that down, and there is your interpretation section finished. So we've learned about observation yesterday. We've learned all about interpretation today. Tomorrow, I will explain the final step to this inductive study process, and that is application. I'll see you tomorrow.